Hello and welcome to CS264 Software Design. This is Lecture 2 and Lesson 1. And in this short lesson, I'm going to talk about Moodle, the lectures, the lecture content, getting access to those content, and how to get starting coding with C#. So I guess you already know about Moodle because in order to be able to access this lesson, you will probably have come by the Moodle link. So the main point to know is that everything will be available via Moodle. And that's the main way to access all module content. Okay. You should see it as one of the modules when you log in. And if you don't, I can add you manually. I have included a link to the module here. Okay. Its course ID is 2779 this year. And you should log in and see this 2023 semester 1 detail when you go there. So let's quickly have a look. So here's the module. And all the content is there. I would like you to read this. I said this in the last lecture, and everything will be here. And you will see that if you click on week 1, when I make it visible, and I'll do that tomorrow, you should be able to see all the lessons that will be available. There's this lesson here is included from this link, and all the other lessons are there. So we should be able to have no problem with that, and you'll be able to access all the content from there. So my plan, as I said in class, is to upload links to all the lecture content, all the assignments, the demo codes and notes and so forth as I develop the resources. Some of the material will be redeveloped this year and some will be reused. So you'll see a version of dates from 2020 to 2022. Let's make this one 2022 because I've made some updates this year. So my plan again is to deliver the 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock live lecture that you attended on Tuesdays in the classroom class LB and to upload it to YouTube weekly afterwards. Usually this will be the week following the recording. Sometimes I might upload it a little bit earlier, but generally there will be a week's delay. The reason we do this is because if we just have recordings available instantly, then students will come to classes, okay, and they miss the opportunities to be able to engage. It's different when you have a YouTube live stream because people are able to ask questions in the stream and I can answer them, and so it's really important that we have that possibility or potential for interaction, and that's why we have lectures. Okay, so please ask me questions. Okay, so I've delivered this module a few times now, so there will be previous recordings available of the live lectures and of live streams on my YouTube channel. I'll also be using Mentimeter sometimes for in-class and online quizzes, and we didn't actually see it this lecture, okay, but you'll see it a little bit later. Okay, I may live stream optional material, and if I may, just because I feel like I want to show you something and maybe there's time, and I might just live stream something related to C#. If I do, then about 5 minutes beforehand, there will be a Twitter announcement, and so I'll send a tweet automatically to the live stream. I'll probably just post to Teams as well and so forth. But most of the content details when it's uploaded is there's an announcement for MU. But if I'm not live streaming, then you'll have to use Moodle as the jumping off point. Okay, but the Twitter feed is there if you want to look and see what's happened previously. As I said, my plan is to be not using Twitter or YouTube for any live streaming, but I might get to do it at some point. It's just for optional material. But you'll see the link to the current lectures and the previous lectures using the feed, okay? And all of the CS264 lectures will be easily identifiable having this yellow splatter. And it will differ from the CS230 ones that the other module that I also give, okay? I will place, as I said, all the links to the pre-recorded material and to anything else will always be here. Okay, sometimes I may post something to Teams. I'm planning on doing it a little bit later today, in fact, just to show you a few things. So, but they might be too small, just to be putting onto or insignificant, really, but they just might help with something related to an assignment or something. Sometimes I pop those into Teams. Okay. So you can go directly to my YouTube channel if you want to collect and to get and see the material. It's John Keating MU, and that will help you get there as well. You don't actually have to subscribe to watch any of the videos, but if you do, you might get notifications when something is uploaded. And you can explore the channel and see the other content there. You might want to go ahead and look at lectures for the future or something. You might be working on something that you think will be useful, and there will be a lecture on it. And they're all labeled and each lecture will have an ID number. As you can see here, for example, is lecture 2404, and that will kind of match up with the actual lecture schedule that I have. So, if you feel that there's something that you wanted to revisit or something, you can always search for it on the YouTube channel and get back there, rather than just going back and using this set of links here. It's your call. Again, this is the view as an unsubscribed user. I didn't sign in to YouTube for a few times so I can check, and so it's accessible to anyone who doesn't have Google, YouTube, Twitter, any of that signups. You should just be able to see everything, okay? Moodle is your go-to point. It's the go-to starting point for all of the module information, and you can access the other content like the slides and the demo and the notes and the demo code, all that stuff there as well. The demo code comes in zip files for each lecture. Sometimes you'll have the demo code for a live lecture, and sometimes you'll just have the demo files that are used in the lessons as well. You'll notice that I'm using Markdown again, and some of you who will have been on my classes before, I use Markdown for all my notes and for that I distribute to students. So all these Markdown files will be available in the zip as well. Sometimes these Markdown files contain code, and you can copy and paste the code from the Markdown files and run them, rather than me including a separate program as well, just keeping everything centrally. Okay, so in order to make things work, you do need to download and install .NET. So it's best to install the full .NET SDK, the software development kit, that full development environment, in order to work with C#. And there are installers available for Windows, Linux, and Mac, and Docker as well, of course. Because I did this test with my Mac, I was offered the Mac OS One. So you can just click to download the SDK. I'm using this one here for Mac users. If you have an older MacBook Pro, the Intel x64 chip, then download the first one. If you have a newer MacBook Pro, which I have in my other machine and my other MacBook, it has an ARM64, so you're looking at the M1 or the M2. So download this one, the second one. Okay, you'll get other options available for Windows and Linux as well. Okay, but it's free, it's cross-platform, it's useful. You can click on this link here to go and download, and then select your operating system, follow the instructions. You're interested in the .NET 6 option here, okay? Sometimes you'll see .NET Core 3.1, or you'll see, let me just make a note here, 5.0, 5.1. They'll work, but I used these last time, but please, I think it's best to go with the .NET 6 option. But it depends, of course, on your operating system and what do you have available. But most of the code that we run in the console will be fine with any of these. Okay, so when you have it installed, you can open a command window and just issue the command .NET. So we should do that here, and you can see the various options here. And if I want to be sure about the version that I have, I can say .NET version, and you'll see I have version 6 installed. Sometimes you'll depending on your installation, it'll differ slightly. Okay. You can have a list of all the .NET SDKs, and you can see previously I would have had an earlier .NET 3.1 here at one point if that was still there. So let's just copy this, and you can do this yourself. You can just copy and paste and go. And you can see that I have a whole bunch of SDKs installed for various things. So that allows me that if, for example, a student is using an earlier version, I can set, I can set my project file to be able to match the one that's been submitted, or I can run something with a particular SDK. But I would advise, if possible, please, that you use the latest one. It'll make life a little bit easier for you. Okay, so that would be great. So that's it. You can start coding using C# already. So we do need an editor in order to get everything working, and I would recommend VS Code. And I said this morning when I was in class in lecture 1, that it would be a good idea to use VS Code or some other editor that allows you to install modules. And I would particularly like you to be installing and using PUML, which will be a little bit later. So I'm using Atom here, as you can see. I can look at the package that I have here, and I don't have PUML installed on this one, but I do have it installed in my VS Code. So if I run my VS Code here, and I can look at the packages here, I can go to my command, and you can see I have a bunch of like plant UML. This will be really important as well for a little bit later in the assignment. So that's a useful one. So that's why I recommend this one. I mean, you can install it for other editors as well, but I would recommend VS Code. It also works on Windows, it works on Linux, it works on Mac OS as well. So head over to the download. If you go here to visualcode.visualstudio.com/docs/languages/C#, then you should get a link, and then you can just do that. So this is my download.net. This is the YouTube channel, by the way. And this is the VS Code. You can click on the download link and you'll be good to go. There's also a really nice link, and I put the link in here as well, to how you might work with VS Code and .NET. Okay, and some examples and some demos, and it's a good one to look for. Okay, so I'd recommend that. Sometimes you may not have access to your own computer to install this, and you want to work on something maybe at home, maybe you're using a Chromebook or something like this, or you can't attend labs because we may still have some ongoing COVID restrictions and you have to isolate or something, or there might be some other medical reason or safety concerns that you might have where you can't actually access the lab. So I would advise in that case to be able to use REPL.IT for your work. Okay, and register with the service so that your work is saved, and you can then ensure that you find a way of saving your files, download them, etc. And it's very straightforward to do it in order to be able to get them to a computer in the lab or something. So you can look at REPL here. Okay, and you can start coding from REPL, and you can click through to C# down at the bottom here, and you'll be able to get there. I mean, I've logged in as me, and I can have a look at my REPLs, and I can see some of these, and I can just create a new one, for example. Let me just create a new one here, and it knows I like Node.js and so forth. So I'm going to create this REPL here. And we get the default. That's quite nice. And again, I have my program here. It's very similar to one that you had in lecture 1. And I can move to the console here and go .NET Run, and it'll be fine. And then we'll be able to find ways of saving this and downloading and all the usual things that you like to be able to do. This is for exceptional circumstances. Okay, this is not the normal. Way I would like you to be working. When you do this first, it often gets a bit slow, but it is running, has a bit of work to do, and it will get there. I've included the links here for all of those. Okay, so really getting started with C# is fairly straightforward, and getting started with the module is fairly straightforward. Everything should be available for you. Let's see if it ran. It ran. Okay, it was a little bit slow, but it was there. So head on over to this week 1 information if you can't see it already, and explore and get the information from there. Okay. Thank you very much for watching.